The bar was a kaleidoscope of neon and noise. But all I saw was him, Elliot Kane, CEO of Kane Enterprises, untouchable in his crisp suit, sipping whiskey like he owned the night. I, Jamie Parker, a broke artist with paint under my nails and dreams too big for my wallet, had no business being near him. Yet there I was, tripping over my own feet, crashing into his orbit and his lips. It wasn't my fault. Okay, maybe it was. The crowded Brooklyn dive bar was celebrating my best friend Mia's engagement, and I'd had one too many IPAs. Elliot was there, inexplicably, his dark eyes scanning the room like he was searching for something or someone. I'd seen him before. Of course. His face was plastered on every business magazine. The youngest CEO to turn a failing tech company into a billion-dollar empire. But in person, he was magnetic. All sharp jawlines and quiet intensity, like a storm waiting to break. I didn't mean to kiss him. I was aiming for the bar counter, trying to steady myself after a clumsy spin on the dance floor. But the universe had other plans. My lips grazed his, soft and warm, for a heartbeat that felt like forever. The room spun, not from the beer, but from the electric jolt that shot through me. His eyes widened, a flicker of shock melting into something else, something that made my chest tighten. Then I bolted, weaving through the crowd, my heart pounding like I'd just committed a crime. By the time I stumbled into my tiny Williamsburg apartment, I was a mess of nerves and regret. I collapsed onto my thrift store couch, replaying the kiss in my mind. Those lips firm, perfect, tasting faintly of whiskey. I groaned, burying my face in a pillow. Why did I kiss Elliot freaking Kane? And then, impossibly, a voice answered, low and amused. Because you couldn't help yourself. I froze. The voice wasn't mine. It was in my head, clear as day, and it sounded exactly like him. What the hell? I muttered, sitting up. My apartment was empty. The only sound the distant hum of city traffic. You're freaking out, Jamie, the voice said again, smooth and teasing. Relax. It's just me. I clutched my head, panic rising. Elliot, I whispered, feeling insane. The one and only. The voice replied. And for the record, you're thinking about my lips again. I nearly screamed. Somehow, that kiss had linked Ushy's thoughts in my head, mine and his. I didn't know how or why, but every time I thought about him, which was a lot, he heard it. And he wasn't shy about responding. You're cute when you're flustered, he'd say. Or, stop painting me in your head. I don't look that good. But he did. God, he did. The next morning, I woke up hoping it was a dream. It wasn't. Morning. Jamie. Elliot's voice purred in my mind as I brushed my teeth. I spat toothpaste everywhere, cursing. How is this happening? I demanded, staring at my reflection like it had answers. No idea, he replied. But I'm free at noon. Meet me at Kane Enterprises. We need to talk. I wanted to refuse, but my traitorous brain was already imagining him in his corner office, tie loosened, leaning toward me. I can hear that. You know, he said, and I could practically feel his smirk. Kane Enterprises was a glass monolith in Manhattan, all sleek lines and cold ambition. I felt like a fish out of water in my ripped jeans and faded flannel. But the receptionist waved me up to the top floor. Elliot's office was bigger than my apartment. with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city skyline. He stood by his desk, effortlessly commanding, his dark hair catching the sunlight. "Jamie," he said, his voice smoother in person than in my head. "We have a problem." "No kidding," I snapped, crossing my arms. "Why are you in my brain?" He stepped closer, and I caught the faint scent of his Colonus sandalwood and something dangerously warm. "You're distracting me," he thought, and I blushed, realizing he'd heard my own wandering thoughts about his scent. "This is insane," I said, trying to focus. "How do we fix it?" He didn't know. Neither did I. But as we talked, I noticed the way his eyes softened when he looked at me, the way his fingers twitched like he wanted to reach out. "I'm not imagining this," I thought, and his lips quirked. "No, you're not," he replied silently. My heart skipped. This wasn't just a cosmic glitch, it was something more. Something terrifying and thrilling. We spent hours trying to unravel the mystery. Google was useless, and every psychic connection article sounded like nonsense. But the more we talked, the more I saw past the CEO facade. Elliot was sharp, yes, but also funny, self-deprecating, and achingly human. He told me about growing up in a small Ohio town, hiding who he was to fit in. I shared my own story coming out at 16, losing half my family but finding myself in art. Our thoughts tangled, raw and unguarded, and I realized I wasn't just hearing his voice, I was seeing his soul. By evening, we were sitting on his office couch, takeout containers scattered around us. The city glowed outside, and I couldn't stop staring at him. "You're doing it again," he thought, his real voice soft as he leaned closer. "Jamie, whatever this is, it's not just the kiss." My breath caught. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He reached for my hand, his touch sending sparks through me. "I mean, I felt something too," he thought, and then he kissed me. This time, it wasn't an accident. His lips were deliberate, warm, and perfect, and my mind exploded with his thoughts. "God, you're beautiful, and I've wanted this since you crashed into me." I kissed him back, my hands in his hair, the world fading until it was just us. When we pulled apart, gasping, his voice in my head was softer. "We're in trouble, aren't we?" I laughed, dizzy. "Yeah," I said. "Big trouble." But trouble was just the beginning. Because when you can hear someone's every thought, there's no hiding, not from love, not from fear, and definitely not from the chaos about to crash into our lives. The next week was a blur of stolen glances and tangled thoughts. Elliot and I tried to act normal, but nothing about this was normal. Every time I thought about his smile or the way his hand felt in mine, he'd hear it and shoot me a look that made my knees weak. "You're killing me, Jamie," he'd think, and I'd blush, knowing he was just as caught up in this as I was. But the connection wasn't all butterflies and banter. His thoughts weren't always sweet nothing, sometimes they were sharp, stressed, weighed down by the pressure of running a company. I heard his doubts, his fears of failing his employees, his struggle to balance who he was with who the world expected him to be. And he heard my insecurities about never making it as an artist, my guilt over dragging him into this mess. It was intimate in a way that scared me, like we were stripped bare without choosing it. We met daily, trying to break the link. We tried meditation, a disaster. A sketchy psychic in Chinatown, a scam. Even avoiding each other for a day, torture. Nothing worked. Worse, the more time we spent together, the more I wanted to be near him, not just because of the connection, but because of him. Elliot was a puzzle I couldn't stop piecing together. He'd surprise me with coffee from my favorite cafe, remembering my order from a passing thought. I'd catch him humming one of my favorite songs, picked up from my mind. It was maddening and magical, and I was falling hard. But the world doesn't stop for love, especially not for two guys who shouldn't make sense together. Kane Enterprises was in the middle of a high-stakes merger, and Elliot's face was everywhere: billboards, news articles, even a viral X post calling him America's hottest CEO. The pressure was crushing him, and I felt it through our link. A constant hum of anxiety. One night, after a long day, we sat on a Central Park bench, the city's pulse fading into the background. "I can't keep up," he admitted, his voice raw. "I'm drowning. Jamie." I took his hand, my thumb tracing circles on his skin. "You're not alone," I said. "I hear you. Remember?" He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. "You're the only thing keeping me sane." Then he kissed me, slow and deep. And for a moment, the world was quiet. But the quiet didn't last. The next morning, a tabloid photo surfaced us in the park, caught mid-kiss. The headline screamed, "CEO's secret romance exposed." My stomach dropped. Elliot's board was conservative, his investors old school. Being out wasn't part of his carefully curated image. I should have been more careful, he thought, and I hated the guilt in his voice. The fallout was swift. His phone buzzed with angry messages from board members, his PR team scrambling to control the narrative. I felt his panic through our link. A storm of "what have I done?" And I can't lose everything. I wanted to help, but I was a nobody, an artist with no connections, no power. "I'm sorry," I said when we met at his apartment, a sleek penthouse that felt too big for the moment. He shook his head. "It's not your fault, Jamie. I wanted that kiss. I want you." His thoughts echoed the words, raw and honest, and my heart ached. We decided to fight back. Elliot hired a new PR firm, one that specialized in crisis management. I offered to paint a mural for a charity event he was hosting, hoping to shift the narrative to something positive. But the connection made everything harder. His stress bled into me. My fear fed his. One night, during a heated argument about going public with our relationship, I thought, maybe this was a mistake. His face fell. "You don't mean that," he thought, but the hurt in his eyes was real. I grabbed his hand. "I don't," I said fiercely. "I'm scared, but I'm in this." The charity event was our chance to turn things around. I poured my heart into the mural, of vibrant cityscape with two figures holding hands, their silhouettes glowing against a starry sky. It was us, without saying it. Elliot's speech was flawless, his charm winning over the crowd. But I felt his nerves through our link. "You're doing great," I thought, and he glanced at me, a small smile breaking through. For a moment, it felt like we could do this, face the world together. But then the questions came. A reporter cornered Elliot, asking about the photo, about us. His hesitation was brief, but I heard it in his thoughts. What if I lose everything? My chest tightened. I wanted to scream that I was worth it, that we were worth it. But doubt crept in. Was I asking too much? Before he could answer, I slipped out, needing air, needing space. Jamie. Wait. He thought. But I kept walking. The city swallowing me whole. The streets of New York were a blur. My thoughts a tangled mess. I'm not enough for him. I kept thinking. And I knew Elliot heard it. His voice in my head was desperate. Jamie. Please. Come back. But I couldn't face him. Not when I felt like I was tearing his world apart. I wandered until I ended up at my studio. A cramped space filled with half-finished canvases. I grabbed a brush, painting furiously, pouring my fear and love into every stroke. The canvas became us 12 figures caught in a storm, reaching for each other. Hours later, my phone buzzed. It was Mia. Frantic. Jamie, turn on the news. I fumbled with my laptop, heart racing. There was Elliot, live at the charity event. His face calm, but his thoughts a storm in my mind. I can't lose you. He was answering the reporter's question, the one I'd run from. Yes, I'm in a relationship, he said, his voice steady. And I'm proud of it. Love doesn't make me less of a leader, it makes me human. The crowd murmured, some clapping, others whispering. My breath caught. He was coming out. For me. For us. In front of the world. I love you, Jamie, he thought. And I felt it like a tidal wave. Tears stung my eyes. I grabbed my jacket and ran, hailing a cab to get back to him. When I reached the venue, the event was winding down, but Elliot was still there, shaking hands, smiling like he hadn't just turned his life upside down. He saw me, and his thoughts softened. You're here. I crossed the room in seconds, throwing my arms around him. You idiot, I whispered, my voice breaking. You didn't have to do that. He pulled back, his hands framing my face. Yes, I did, he said. I'm done hiding. The connection was still there, but it felt different now, less like a curse, more like a gift. We could hear each other's fears. Yes, but also each other's love, unfiltered and raw. It wasn't easy. The board pushed back. Investors grumbled. But Elliot fought for his place. And I fought for mine. My mural went viral, earning me commissions I'd never dreamed of. We were building something. Not just a relationship, but a life. One night, months later, we sat on his penthouse balcony, the city glittering below. The connection had faded slightly, our thoughts less intrusive, but the bond was stronger than ever. Do you ever miss the quiet? I asked, leaning against him. He laughed, his arm around me. Never, he thought, and I smiled, hearing the truth in it. Good, I said, kissing him softly. Because I'm not going anywhere. Our story wasn't perfect. There were still whispers, judgments, moments of doubt. But every time I looked at Elliot, I saw the man who'd chosen me, who'd chosen us, against all odds. And every time he heard my thoughts, I love you. I love you. I love you, he'd smile and whisper. I know. We'd kissed by accident. But we'd chosen to stay, to fight, to love. And in a world that tried to pull us apart, that was the most human, most beautiful victory of all.